Okay, listen. There. Is it good or not?
Yep. No, it looks good.
You trolling me?
No, I'm not trolling you. It looks good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start, okay, with the first thing. We're gonna start, I think, with figure 1 on the whatever I sent you there. Can you pull that up? Is that possible?
Nope.
Figure 1. Okay.
Not you,
Dan
Steve.
sent me things to put on the screen with. Right here we go. One up there. Why isn't it doing it? Perfect. Hold on.
This is so strange.
Oh, my shit's frozen, Dan. What
You're
the
lying
fuck?
to me. I'm fucking reversed. I'm watching the stream on my computer, and you're gonna let me be fucking like this the whole time. You're such a dumb fuck. Oh my god. Hold on. That is some evil fucking shit. Does it flip now?
Oh, now it actually flipped. Fuck. No,
So why didn't you tell me
this
before? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Sorry, Dan.
Really nice.
Okay. Hold on. All right. Dan has this serious graph that he wants to show you. Okay, Dan, opening statement. Go ahead.
Okay, so 2 things I want to cover. Number 1, buying a condo is retarded in Miami Beach. Of like the most retarded things you can do, I would say it's at the tippy top. Buying a condo in Miami Beach is so autistic, it's difficult to explain, if that makes sense.
Wait, why do you not like condos in Miami Beach?
So we're gonna go through the figures of that first. So forget figure 1. Okay, all I wanted to show is that home prices go up faster than inflation. Okay, we're gonna come back to figure 2 and 3, which I think are very important things. I want to go straight into something that I think is when you look at the figures, it just doesn't make sense. So, Hobbit follower, can you pull up that firstapartments.com link for me?
Firstapartments.com link coming up. $2,600 a month, Miami-Dade County.
This is the cheapest 1-bedroom I could find in Miami Beach, as an example. And to live there will cost you $2,600 a month, and they'll probably also make you pay for renter's insurance, I would guess. Let's say like
renter's insurance is like $40 a year, okay? But okay, Dan.
Forget the renter's insurance. Yeah. $2,600 a month to rent it. Okay. I would say that's a pretty good deal. Now, Steve is over here saying, you know what? I want to buy a condo. Let's talk about buying this condo. The cheapest rent that I could find in Miami Beach. Now, this guy's renting it for this much. Now, how much would it cost to buy? So, second link, please, conductor.
Don't ever associate me with those riffraff.
Yeah, he's not the conductor. He's just
all right.
I have a tight ship that I run here.
Okay, understood. All right, so this is in the same building. I believe it is the same apartment, and it is $425,000 to buy. It is one of the cheapest 1-bedrooms that you can buy in Miami Beach. That is not like a kind of rundown piece of shit. So this is what you would expect to buy it. So now I want to go over the costs if you were to actually buy it instead of renting it, and why buying a condo is stupid. So to buy this at the current interest rate, not counting any principal, not counting anything, would be almost $28,000 a year, $27,624 a year.
Sure.
Property
Let's
taxes.
make a quick note here for people. Interest rates right now, I think, are exceptionally high. But go ahead.
They're not that high.
Are they the highest they've been in like a century?
No.
I feel like I just read this like 2 days ago.
Look up Reagan era interest rates. We're like in the dirt in comparison to like the 80s.
We're probably like 2 points away from like the low average historic of where it is.
Yeah, because rates were in double digits before. Sorry, maybe not a century, but I thought they were like the highest they've been in like a few decades.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, go ahead.
Right now, rates have come down a bit, so this is not that much. This would be much more if we were talking like the 8.5s that we used to be at. Anyways, so we have $28,000 a year in interest. You have $6,000 a year in property tax. You have almost $10,000 a year in HOA. Okay, then I'm just going to put it at $1,000 a year for like keeping shit inside the apartment up to date. That might be fixing a hole in the wall, new appliances, stuff breaks, lighting, whatever. I don't know if that's reasonable. Maybe you want to take that away. It doesn't really matter. Insurance on the condo will be about $2,000 a year, give or take. That's, I think we're in that range. It might be a little bit less, 1,000. I'll knock $2,000 off this total. So the rough side of this, okay, is about $46,500 a year. If you wanted to buy this property, that's about $38.72 a month. Okay, and that is with no principal payments made whatsoever at all. That is with nothing going wrong, and that's with no special assessments whatsoever. So to buy this property, just as it is right there, would cost you more than renting it, almost double, to be honest, of what it is. And that's like owning the property. So it's like it's among the worst things that you can possibly
Wait, why do they sell
Literally,
for that much then?
because Miami Beach is a desirable place and people come here and they dump money into the market because they think that the property value is going to go up. So they don't care if they can just subsidize the cost of the properties a little bit over time. Fuck it, they'll do it, But and they're not making money, even if you own this place
So
outright.
so the real estate market in Miami is an irrational market, where people just dump money into it and they don't actually make any money.
I'm not saying globally. We're talking specifically.
I didn't say globally. I said Miami. The Miami Beach real estate market. All the investors here are just not savvy. They don't know what they're doing with their money. They're just stupid.
It's not that they're not savvy. It's that it's a desirable market, so the prices are high. Let's say if you don't want to count interest, okay? There's a $425,000 place. We're taking interest out of the equation. All we're going to do is property taxes and HOA. We know you got to pay both of those, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to pay those.
Is looking to get rid of property tax, but no, yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Property taxes, HOA, and the condo building's going to probably require you to have insurance. Those three things were almost at $20,000 a year, which is like a little bit less than $2,000 a month. Okay, versus what did we say, $2,600 a month for renting?
Why is the renting so cheap if the ownership rates, if the sale prices are so high?
Well, the sale price isn't even that high comparatively. But that said,
wait, what do you mean it's not that high? Wait, I'm not understanding.
Well, okay, fine. I'll jump into this.
Wait, when I say sale price, I mean like the overall. I'm sorry. Let me be more specific. The overall cost of ownership. If that's so high, why wouldn't that be reflected in the rent prices?
Because there's more of a desire to own property here than there is for people to rent the property. So there's a lot of people here that will buy them a property for themselves or buy property for future upside versus wanting to actually be in the landlord business. So as a result of that, essentially you get these disparities here in Miami Beach specifically that don't exist other places. This is not normal. I'm only talking about Miami Beach in general here. So there's two other things, and maybe this will help you explain why people are willing to do it. So go to figure 5.
Poll is going out.
Figure 5. Oh my God.
Will Dan Saltman make it? Well, there's 2 figure 5s. What do you want me to do here?
Yeah. So the first one. Yeah. So the first one on here, this is the value of in Miami Beach what a single family home has gone through since 2017, but whatever. So you have over 100% increase in single family home values. And then the second one, if you pull that one up, this is on condo value. It's good, but it's still not it's not as good as single family. This one went about, what did I say here? 78% up from the lowest of the low. So for both of these, the lowest of the low, the highest of the high, 78 versus 104 on growth. Now, there's other parts, okay, that make it.
Can you show me the same thing for Santa Monica?
Well, I would, but my keyboard has no power for some reason right now.
How the fuck is your keyboard not working?
I genuinely have no idea. My entire USB hub, I think. Wait, actually, that's.
He sent me only screenshot session, so I don't have the option to change this around. So we're booming pretty hard on this one. But you know what we're not doing? Kicking Dan off of the stream because he is with a 71% ratio. He is being extended. So 5 more minutes, Dan.
Okay, listen, hold on. Important stuff. Okay, look, important stuff.
Pause. Yep, we're holding.
All right. So there is another very key benefit to having a house over a condo, even in Miami Beach, besides the fact that it doesn't make sense to rent versus buy in Miami Beach.
Okay.
So remember how I mentioned that HOA figure? That's not unreasonable. You're like, holy shit, that's actually a lot of money. That's like 10 grand a year. It's kind of wild for, that shit. That's normal. It's going to be around that part. The best you're going to get is like $600 a month for a 1-bedroom. You know why it sucks? Is that if you own a house, okay, if I own this house and I go and I put a brand new roof on the house, that's kind of like the HOA. That's a substitute of the HOA. You pay an HOA to a condo building because they do shit like they put a new roof on, they maintain the elevators, they make it nice in there. So you can't deduct HOA from your taxes at the end of the year. But guess what I get to do when I sell this house in the future if I do? Anything that I put into this house that's a replacement, new kitchen, new roof, new roof
Yeah, your
inside of here.
1031 exchange that you love so much.
No, not 1031. No,
What?
this adds to your taxable basis. So let's say I bought this house for 100,000,
Mhm.
and let's say there was no benefit of whatever for home ownership where you get a credit. I bought it for 100. I'm gonna sell it for 200. Shit, I owe taxes on 100K long-term capital gains.
Mhm.
No, because I also put 30K into the property. Okay, I put 20K into the roof. I put 10K into remodeling the kitchen. Now my basis isn't 100K anymore. It's 130K. So now I'm only paying taxes on 70K of gains versus the other thing. So with a condo building, even though you may have paid $500,000 in HOA over 10 years of owning the property, you can deduct none of that, even though that the HOA place has probably put a new roof on, even though they've gone and they've redone the elevators. It's not a benefit that you have having a condo. So you lose that benefit as well. So the other big part is something someone touched on this, and it is kind of interesting. I mean, we had the Surfside condo collapse that had happened up here. We don't know the true lifespan of what all of these condo buildings that were built 20 to 30 years ago are, because they were doing this shit without the internet, books at the library, wild fucking times. Okay, architects in room with fucking paper. Reasonable thinking is that
I don't know if you know this. We still do that.
Yeah, the reasonable thinking is that property lifespan for a concrete skyscraper is at most 150 years, unless it was built exceptionally well, especially for stuff that was built 20 to 30 years ago. That's the max. In realistic speaking, we're talking about 100 years or less. Okay, and after 100 years, what happens is they say we're going to demolish this property. The upkeep bill is too much. Now I get to the next figure 4. If you pull up there,
Bring up figure 4.
So in Miami Beach, as a result, well, not a result, this has been the case before, but now it's more stringent. With the Surfside collapse, which killed all those people, God bless them, we have this thing called a 30-year reinspection. And then every 10 years after that, you have a new inspection. What does this mean? It means every 10 years that you're in a condo building, someone from the city of Miami is going to come and they're going to inspect every part of the foundational structure, electrical, everything having to do with your condo building. And with a building that might be very high, this could be unbelievably expensive affair as a result of this. I mean, you could essentially, the article that I have to pull up here shows that people that were living in a tower that had apartments that were worth like $200,000 or $300,000 were hit with a $225,000 each special assessment if they wanted to keep living there, because that would be the cost to maintain and fix that building at that point. So it is not a infinite length that you have for your property. You move in and you are at the mercy of the building being well maintained, and you're being at the mercy of the fact of it not collapsing, everything else. Okay, so that doesn't happen with a house for the most part. For the most part, if you keep updating a house and maintaining it, I would say that a house lifespan, like Theseus's ship, will be indefinite. If
Wait,
things
can I
start
ask a
going
question?
bad,
I'm curious. I actually don't know the answer to this. In Sweden, it seemed like I don't know if this is true or not, but just from listening to Melina and her dad talk about this, it seemed like there weren't very many building owners, but it was really common that a lot of the apartment complexes were cooperatively owned. Is that a thing that happens in the U.S.? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, yes, and but it's not common. You see some of that in New York City. In New York City, there are some buildings that are co-op owned, and it's like kind of a HOA on steroids. And basically, what it means is that there is not like it's kind of this. There's this figure in San Francisco that's very popular. It's called tenancy in common, or TIC, and very few banks will mortgage on them. But what essentially it means is, imagine like a 4-unit building or a 20-unit building. It doesn't matter. But guess what? It's not titled as a 20-unit building or a 4-unit building. It's just titled as a building with one single owner. And essentially what happens is that these TICs or these co-ops act as mini corporations, if you will, where your share and your vote is dictated off of the square footage or the assessed value of each unit inside. And then the assessors will kind of come in there and they'll determine how much is each unit worth, and they will do that. So the cities will still do it, but essentially for the tax roll purpose, it is a single building, and you'll get one assessment, and then it's up to the people inside of the unit to vote on how it can be. And then sometimes you get disparities, like one guy who's getting fucked versus the other people, so he has to go and sue and everything. But it's a whole thing. It's a corporation, essentially. But it's not common. If I had to guess, it would probably be less than 2% of not commercial real estate, residential apartment buildings fall under that co-op class. Okay, so here's the important thing that I want to throw out here. So we said the cost for you to buy this place would be about $47,000 a year, $3,800 a month, $3,900 a month. I want to give a counterclaim. So my house is worth somewhere between $4.5 and $5 million. And I added all of my costs that I need to pay every month to keep this house moving forward. This is stuff that's non-negotiable. I have $1,700 a month for property tax. I have $350 a month for flood insurance, $185 for my home insurance, about $4,000 a year, $500 electricity. I'm including electricity because I'm going to be paying more than if I had a condo. It would be less, obviously, because there's more heat savings, everything. $500 for my pool. For $500 for extra water and extra trash service. $150 for pool. $200 for gardener. That whole total brings me to about $3,600 a month, $43,000 a year. So even that, owning a $4.5 million house is less expensive than buying a $425,000 condo on a monthly basis. So owning a single family home is like exponentially better than a condo, and you get the additional benefits as well. So that's kind of the whole don't buy a condo, whatever you do. If you're going to buy something, buy a single family home. Never buy a condo, just keep renting. It's
well,
just
in the
better.
Miami market, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I still
outside,
feel like
it's
there
very
has to be
different.
something that we're not accounting for, or that you're not accounting for.
No, it's just Miami Beach. Yeah, it's Miami Beach, and it's extremely desirable. A lot of people want to buy stuff here because they think that it's going to go up in value. Because
but that's got to be true of every. There's no way that that's unique to Miami Beach.
That is unique to Miami.
Really, nobody in Beverly Hills or Santa Monica or Manhattan, like nobody has this thought that
those places are probably like that as well. Yeah, super desirable places are going to be out of disparity of the cost of ownership versus the rental cost. But if you go to middle fucking nowhere, or not even middle of nowhere, if you just go to like Springfield, whatever, any state, it's not going to be that. You'll be able to be making money and be better off buying than you are renting. It's something where it's more desirability takes away from the rental benefit as that, if that will. Like there's a benefit to rent over buying in desirable areas because there's more people that want to buy and they don't necessarily want to deal with the bullshit of being a landlord, which also this factors in a little bit into supply and demand and, how much of that, like, is this a place like Texas that's letting you build like fucking crazy? Or is it like San Francisco where it definitely makes sense to buy, even though that's a desirable place because they won't let fucking anyone build, right? Like that's a completely different market than Miami. Miami lets you build condos like crazy here, for instance. So that's like the big reason it doesn't make sense to buy a condo probably in Miami or Miami Beach is what I would say. If you get farther out into Miami, I think you can switch lanes a little bit on that front.
Okay.
Two last things. So the figure 6, sir.
Yeah, figure 6. Did we even go through figures 1 through 4, or did we just skip those?
I'm gonna do figures. So
they
figures.
Were those awesome graphs we shared earlier.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are pretty. 2 and 3 are pretty good, but those are the last ones we're gonna do because that's like my magnum opus on this. Figure 6. Okay. What this is I think it's an important factor because a lot of people, they only look at real estate investing or owning a home on a very basic level, which is what would this be if I put this into the stock market instead? And obviously the stock market is going to be better in those cases if you just buy a house and live in it. And I don't think anyone would disagree with it. However, things do change if you buy property and rent it out. And then with that increased equity and increased rental income that you have monthly, you can either buy another property. I don't even know if that's categorized in here or not, or you can put that into the market directly as that green line indicates there. So it keeps up with the S&P 500 still doing real estate. However, the other benefit that you have there is all of the tax benefits probably aren't being shown on this graph as far as being able to write off. Like that income that you see in that green line right there, that's going to be essentially tax-free for the most part, as opposed to the blue line. Almost definitely you're going to be paying long-term capital gains, and depending on your state, you might have more. And then for the finality of my point of why people should buy single-family homes and treat it like an investment while they can you please go
just as a quick thing on this last thing, investment property and buying a single-family home, these are two totally different things. I don't consider somebody to be involved in real estate if they just buy a home to live in, right?
Fair enough. Yeah. And that will take us to the most important parts of my conclusion of why single-family home ownership is important for most of Americans. Figure 2 and figure 3, please, sir.
Uh-oh.
All right, figure 2.
Okay.
And
so, figure 2, I'd like to give you a statistic here. Okay. Around between 76.6 million and 83 million people inside of America have an IQ of 89 or below, which puts them on the low average, also one step away from mild mental disability.
Okay.
Now, after that, we also have between 23 and 26 million people actually have mild mental disabilities or less. And I would say that with people like this, they are not capable, okay? If you have that type of thing, the only level of easy equity building that you can do is to own a home. That anything else will probably be beyond their reach, that they'll be convinced and they'll end up putting all their money into fucking Bed Bath and Beyond or doing some stupid shit, buying a car with it, and that a home is one thing that they can be forced into doing where they can't get out of it. They buy a house, they have a mortgage payment, and that's the end of the game. That's all they can do. And it's like a forced retirement plan for them that otherwise would not exist. And at the end of this, they can be rewarded if they don't fuck it up.
I think I could agree with that, but I feel like at the very end of the day, then that just makes the ultimate rentoid versus the mortgageoid argument, where a mortgageoid is a Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging dipshit who's too stupid to deal with his money otherwise, and the rentoid is the superior drifter from place to place with the ultimate freedom and capability to do anything he wants in his life.
Well, I mean, there's one thing you can't do as a rentoid, though. Do you know what that is?
What?
Stay in your place if you want to.
Really? Because I've been here for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, what about if they decide that they're going to start condoing out the units?
Oh, really? So you're saying people that own their places can stay there for as long as they want?
Yes.
Really? Tell me, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something, Dan.
I'm ready to be told.
Tell me something, Dan. Where were you living in early 2005?
2005. Massachusetts, I think? Or San Francisco. No. Massachusetts. Why?
Wait, am I mixing it with somebody else? Who did I know that had to like move out of fucking Louisiana because of Hurricane Katrina? Didn't you have stories about
that
this?
was me.
Yeah.
That was 2003, though.
Was that Hurricane Katrina?
Or no, wasn't that early? When was Hurricane Katrina? It was like 2003, wasn't it?
The AI said 2005.
Was it really?
Oh, I see why you're a homeowner now. 70 to 79 IQ? Was that the...
Wait, no, when... listen, I'm old, so I get dates mixed up. Was it 2005? I guess that makes sense. Does it?
Yeah.
Stop fucking with me.
So
hey,
even those people
I don't have a keyboard.
Okay?
I can't check. When was Hurricane Katrina?
It was 2005.
I need to know. It was 2005. Okay. You know what I was doing there? I was a rentoid.
And you know what? How much would that have sucked if you would have owned your home and you had to leave?
It would have. Well, I mean, I would have got a good amount of money from the government.
Maybe.
As a result. And
Kanye West says that.
I mean, if your litmus test of why this is better is that a tornado can rip up your house, I don't think that that's a specifically good argument.
Well, it wasn't a tornado; it was a hurricane. And we live in, where do we live in again? Miami
Yes,
Beach?
I'm using a extreme example of that. Yes, I understand that.
Oh, so tornadoes are worse than hurricanes?
I think so for damage if they hit you directly. Yes.
Okay.
It's higher wind count, higher wind speed. But yeah, that's the one thing you can't do. Like if you really, really like where you're at the mercy of the building not to jack the rent up past something that you can pay, or decide that they want to just take it off the market and use it for themselves. The owner doesn't want to sell it. He just wants to fucking live in that unit. That's one thing that you can't do with an apartment. You also are limited with what you can do inside the place. You have to abide by the rules. What about if everyone in the building votes that moving forward past 11 p.m., there's no shouting? And it's like, well, what the fuck? I do my stream past 11 and I shout. Well, fuck you. The HOA says you can't do it. And, eventually they can evict you if you don't do it, right? You don't have this level of autonomy in a apartment, whereas you would have it in a house. So
sure, but I feel like that cuts both ways, though, right? Like if you own a house, I know this cuts both ways because you know this, right? Why do HOAs exist? Why do HOAs exist?
Well, HOAs exist because when neighborhoods are created, they think that they want to make sure, essentially, they keep the riffraff out and that all of the houses stay of a certain level of quality. But that's only...
But like if you live in a neighborhood,
20% of the housing stuff.
Sure, no, I agree, I understand. But like if you live in a neighborhood and then a bunch of people start moving into your neighborhood and these people suck shit and they're doing crazy wild stuff, you're trapped. You're a prisoner. And now the value of your property is going to go down. Now you're like trapped with all these.
I mean, look, to be fair, right, for both sides of the arguments, all we can do is look at an aggregate average of what's the most likely situation to happen. And the most likely situation is that home values typically go up. Right, that's the most likely thing.
Yeah, but this is not what we're ever looking at. We're not looking at if home values go up. It's always our home values going up in comparison to other things, right?
Well, yeah, but I put up that, right? Home values kind of keep pace or exceed inflation rate, and home values.
I think they typically will.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of Americans, it's probably the only thing that they can comprehend and fathom that allows them to have some sort of wealth retention for a lot of people. If you're really wealthy, okay, if you're like a multi-millionaire, sure, apartments can be based. If you're the type of guy that's like, you're a single guy, you want to move, you want to go to a different place, I absolutely agree. Like, it would be retarded to buy a house. Like, in general, you don't want to buy a new house, I think, unless you want to live there, as a single family thing for like over 7 years or something like that. Like, otherwise, I think end up, in most cases, that isn't a demand-based market like where we're at in Miami Beach.
What?
I can hear that.
Oh, I didn't even. Go ahead.
In general, renting would be better, I think, if in most places, if you weren't going to stay there for 7 years.
Yeah, no, I think I came out and said it earlier. I think that it's, I feel like owning a home is like a stage of life thing. Like, I think there are appropriate stages in your life to be in a house, and there's probably appropriate stages in your life to be in an apartment. But I think the thing that I usually push back on is people just push the home ownership like it's like literally the best, most superior thing you can do at every point in life. When I think there are times
I wouldn't agree that it's obviously it's not, but I would say it's probably the best as an average option that we can, like, if we have to force it on all of the American public, it's probably the best option that we have because everyone else is they're just.
Yeah, but at like certain stages in life, it's like the best option. Because I think the issue we're running into now is I think we've seen a lot of the negative effects of all of the external damages that pushing home ownership has cost us in terms of like now Florida is trying to get rid of property tax. California has no property tax basically. Zoning and districting cities is fucking impossible because of the obsession with single family homes. Certain cities are becoming unlivable, and now states are freaking out because people are moving and fleeing, places like California or New York to go to other cities who are now also experiencing massive increases in home prices and everything. So I think we're past where it's not even like, well, hypothetically in the future this could incentivize bad stuff. Like, we're already seeing and have been seeing negative external effects of people treating homes as like this primary investment vehicle that they need to be in as soon as possible, rather than like there's an appropriate stage of life to live in a house and maybe even buy a house, and there's appropriate stages in life to be in apartments, I think.
No, I agree with that, but you also have to just say, like, what should be the case versus what is the case. And what is the case is that this shit is fucking cooked and people are just, they're stupid, and they're gonna, there's a lot more sprawl towards the city. Like, I think in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s there was a big push to not be living in the cities, and that was seen as dangerous and bad. And now it's returning to be the other way, where younger adults are having more of a desire to live in the city as opposed to the other thing. So it is getting congested and bad. There's really nothing we can fucking do about it because single family home owners are going to be the largest voting bloc, and they're always going to vote in their own interest when it comes against them. So
Japan seems like they figured it out. I don't know what they do differently, but
well, I mean, that they have like a fucking king and shit. So I mean, yeah, I mean, can it be possible to be fixed with some sort of unitary?
I'm pretty sure Japan is a functional government. I think if that emperor thing is even still there, which I don't know if he is, but if he is, it's probably like symbolic, like in the UK.
Well, Japan. I would say Japan's also a shitty example, and that's just like, aren't they like the worst country when it comes to matching birth rates? Like, they have like so many houses that are vacant. It's not really like I understand we have vacant houses in America, but there's a housing crisis in America. They have a different type of housing crisis.
They have a different crisis for sure, but I mean, like, they got all those hentais and the crazy stuff to jerk off to, so they've got their own problems. But
yeah, that's true. So
I think one thing some guy brought it up earlier is I think housing should probably be controlled at the state level instead of at the like local city level. I think that's probably not.
Meaning what?
Like, the state can just say this is how we're going to set housing policy, rather than every individual city getting to dictate it, because cities are probably
like what housing policy?
Like for stuff like zoning.
Rent control in San Francisco?
Sure, rent control, how you zone things, like how you order more housing to be built or whatever. I think
it might be used. Like, I could see that being used as a stick or a carrot right now with the current administration, right? If you have a governor that's Republican in a very Democratic city, and all of a sudden he's going to try and, you have the state being able to go and dictate how things are done here. And it's
but
very
again, that always cuts both ways, because you could have the opposite where there's a governor and a mayor that fight, and the mayor is feeling differently than.
Well, this is like the whole House of Representatives thing. Why do we have it? Well, the idea is that, Miami is very different than all Republican Florida. So we don't want, we want a mayor that represents the desires of Miami residents versus, the governor in Florida who doesn't really give a shit about Miami any more than he does Jacksonville or Tallahassee or something.
Sure, but like the big benefit of having a federal government is I don't want Florida to be able to cut special deals with South America that like New York can't take advantage of, or coastal cities to be able to cut special shipping deals and fuck over Midwestern cities. So the federal government kind of has to make sure that we're all invested in that. And I feel like when it comes to zoning and stuff, having the state government being able to dictate it is probably better than every city trying to kind of like optimize for themselves. It just seems like the city stuff is just not working right now, or housing is not working really in the entire Western world. So it seems like something needs to change there in terms of how it's doled out. But
I mean, I guess, like, if you use that argument, I guess you would say that you think that there probably shouldn't be a House of Representatives then, right? Because it's very similar to what you're saying, that there shouldn't be local policymakers that are deciding policy for a specific area. Or do you disagree with that?
No, House of Representatives and Senate both oversee the same area. It's just different types of representation, but it's the jurisdiction.
Right. So we have a representation representative in the House that like covers like Miami, and they give a fuck first and foremost about Miami and Miami Beach and Fort
but
Lauderdale,
only for matters of like kind of like federal importance. Like the House of Representatives,
they're supposed to only advocate on our behalf of the residents. But
they're advocating to the federal government, not to the state government, or not to the local city, municipality, or whatever.
I think they do some stuff. I mean, I know that there's some weird shit with like a state. Even on a statewide, you have state senators, and don't they do kind of similar shit?
Yeah, but that's like that is for the state though. When you say state senators, you mean for like the state government, like they advocate. But I'm just saying that like our representative that represents whatever district, is this 6 or 1? I don't fucking remember. Whatever district this is, I should know this, that goes to the federal government. They're advocating arguably for our district or for our state or for our district more specifically, but they're advocating to the federal government, not to the Florida government or to the city municipality. So you advocate for different things to different bodies, I guess. Yeah.
I guess I would imagine that the Florida state rep and the Florida federal rep, both representing Miami, are going to have similar desires and demands. There might be
no. They'll be totally different. So
I mean, they'd be going after different funds, but I don't think that they're going to be giving a fuck about Nebraska either way. They're going to be like, yeah, fuck Nebraska. Give that shit to us.
But like, let's say, for instance, there's a question of like property taxes in Florida. Your state representatives, and maybe if you have city council people, those people are going to fight for that. But your House or your Senate seat for the federal government, they have nothing to do with that. Now they could like go and campaign with them because they're like well-known people, but they have they're not part of that voting body that has any determinative thing on Florida policy. They are just fighting on U.S. policy for the United States. Much the same that, like, let's say there was going to be like a trade deal cut or like these tariffs or whatever, your state representative can't do fuck all in terms of voting for that, but your federal representative, whether it's the representative or the senator, those guys are going to advocate for that because it's a different body that can make like different kind of rules encompassing it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much things would change. Like, I don't know, like, when you come to zoning, like, are we really at what can you change in Miami Beach? Like, what can you actually do with zoning wise here? Like, there
are still no offense to you guys.
You think there's like a desire to build skyscrapers here that is not getting allowed from
there's
city
a ton
council?
of single family. You live here in single family fucking housing, Dan. There's still a lot of single family housings in Miami Beach.
Yeah, and I don't want it fucking go anywhere, and I ain't selling unless it's a retarded amount.
Okay, well, at the very least, can we agree to get rid of how about can we come together and get rid of the people in the middle? So you've been to my apartment, you obviously, right? You know that like right across the street, there's a fuck ton of these like 2-story duplex, quadruplex things, right? Why aren't those high rises?
Well, so that might be a zoning issue, but that's also if the people in Miami Beach do not want a skyscraper in that area, who is the representative that is going to go against that and then lose their
what are we talking about right now? Are we talking about
like in Miami Beach? Okay, the place across the street from you, there's just some fucking low-rise like 2-family buildings, right? So why is not some big skyrise developer coming in there, buying those properties, fuck it, we'll pay double what they're worth, right? We're going to throw down $20 million.
Oh, it's probably not zoned for it.
Yeah, so why is that not happening? And the answer to that is that because it's not zoned to go beyond like 40 feet in height. That's why you can't do it. So,
sure, but there might be like, this is the argument that Ezra Klein makes. Now I haven't read the book, so maybe it's not exactly like what it sounds like. My guess is even though we're in Miami, there might be like a billion autismo things about why that's not happening. Like it might be so. In my mind, like my intuitive answer is like, oh, well, if you demolish it, people probably just here wouldn't be in favor of that or wouldn't vote for it or something. But the actual answer might be if you want that many high density buildings next to each other, you actually have to widen the interstate to Miami City because of like the regulations for how many people can live in an area versus like the highways made available to them or something. There might be like some really autistic shit like that or something, you know?
No, it can be that. Like, for instance, I know there's a law in place that if you're within, I think it's a quarter mile of a beach, do you know that the windows that you install in your property, if it has a direct view of the ocean, cannot have a reflective index of more than X because it might affect sea turtles? It's a real law.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that, but as a relational thing, that's very briefly, hardly related. In Jerusalem, I think it was around the 48 war, people couldn't do their dishes in the morning. They had to wait till the evening when the sun was setting. It sounds like I'm setting you up for a big troll, but I'm not. Because what would happen is when the sun was setting, I think it would reflect on the glass. So if people were sniping over hills, they couldn't shoot in and kill you while you were doing your dishes. They had to wait for the sunset to do that so that the sun was hitting the windows right. That reminded me of that.
But once the sun went down, wouldn't it be easier because then you have the light inside lighting you up and you would be an easier shot versus the day, the reflections of the windows would actually bounce it off. That doesn't make sense at all.
No,
nighttime shots, that's the
no. I'm saying where the sun is in the sky. Because like in the day, if the sun is behind your house, they can still see in. But I'm saying like when the sun gets to the other side. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying like it's sun. I'm not saying
you have lights on. They still had lights in the 50s.
No,
right?
I'm not saying like sunset like it's dark. I'm just saying where the sun is at the sky. Like at 5 p.m. you don't need to turn the lights on in your house.
Yeah, sure. I think you're right. There's regulations. Like for instance, there's mandated. So I live off of 41st Street here in Miami Beach,
Jesus
and that is a
Christ.
designated evacuation route. What that means is that the city, they want to come in there and they want to go and completely like remodel that street to make it kind of similar to Lincoln Road. They want to do that. They want to get rid of the parking spots on the side and turn it into like restaurant seating and all that type of shit. The problem is that is a designated evacuation route in the case of a hurricane.
Sure.
So they're limited. It has to remain a certain amount of lanes, this whole other shit. But the biggest stumbling block, number one, is zoning. So why are those buildings across the street from you not getting bought up tomorrow and turned into a skyrise? It's because they're only zoned for 40 feet. Sure. Right, and that's not going to change.
The question is like, why is it zoned that way? And that's always like the really complicated thing, right? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a mix probably of some good reasons that we would agree on, and some like voter bullshit of just wanting to keep the prices up.
They're probably all like decently good reasons. I imagine it's probably similar to like any sufficiently large fucking software project where if you want to change a thing, there's like a million different dependencies and it's just fucking annoying. And like it's why stuff was broken up into microservices so you had more modularity. Like there's probably not much modularity when it comes to city design. Like if you want to change one thing, you've got to go to like 15 different fucking bodies and get okays and approvals, and everything is dependent on everything else at all points in time. That's what it feels like when it comes to anything related to construction in the United States, which is annoying as fuck.
I guess there's a question, like looking at something like San Francisco and even to an extent Miami Beach, like and maybe not so much Miami, but definitely San Francisco. When you think of San Francisco and what the charm of that place is that it's a city of essentially 2- and 3-story like row houses, like the very famous painted ladies' houses on a street. You have the curvy Lombard Street. The question is, how much of this city will lose its character as it becomes this dystopian cyberpunk? More and more skyscrapers keep going out and sprawling more and more and more until all of that culture is gone of what it is. And how much voting power do the residents have to stop
but like
that?
this is the anti-gentrification argument. I think gentrification is based like cultures and things change over time. The idea that you're going to hold on to the same type of charm forever, I don't think any place in the entire world does that. Like if you want shit like that, go to fucking Italy and go look at the Colosseum or some bullshit. Or
but even there, you would be in favor of it. I mean, the problem is I'm just saying that
like in San Francisco, like this is a place that needs to grow and it needs to evolve. And rather than the choice is either like the old, quaint, like cute, culturally rich place versus the soulless skyscraper place, why can't we move in a direction where we are both functional, right? But also you have like cute cultural things. Like, why can't we do both?
I don't know. I don't think they're inclusive. I think that if demand was to keep up with San Francisco, I think the sprawl would eventually start taking away from what it is, right? Like, I think that's maybe a possibility of the case. Like, would people want to be in San Francisco if it was like Manhattan? I don't know. It's a very different experience of those things. Like in Manhattan, there is no single family homes. There is no like walking to your corner bodega type of thing that's on the, one level thing. It's like, skyscraper, skyscraper, skyscraper. Every building is at least like 100 feet tall. It's a different experience. And people go to San Francisco because they want that experience or because there's jobs there. But I think that as you take that away and it becomes a different thing, there'll be perhaps less demand, and then you might have an exodus of the people that liked it for what it was. So it can also go the other direction as well. And you have like, I think like Houston or Dallas are one of those, or some of these cities where it's like, they used to have a lot of desire. There was good jobs there, and they built a lot. And now, there's more of like people would rather live in like Fort Stockton, than they would live in Dallas, even though it's like way smaller because it's much more like genuine, cute, that type of shit. So yeah, but anyways, if we take anything away from this conversation, is just don't buy a condo. Whatever you do, just keep renting.
In Miami Beach.
If you're gonna buy anything, buy a house. Well, I mean, I gave you the fucking math. It doesn't make sense. You will pay more money, assuming you bought this thing.
Okay, let me know when one of your neighbors is selling. Do they actually?
There's no way you don't pay more money.
Do they do a Jew check in your neighborhood? Like, would they sell to a secular atheist?
I'm pretty sure that would be illegal for them not to. So yeah, I think you're okay. But as I said, it's not. You only buy if you're worried about being priced out in the future. That's like the reason to buy. You're worried that rents are going to triple or quadruple, and you want to live here the rest of your life. Buy. Or if you're part of that, 40% of Americans that's pretty fucking stupid, you buy because it's probably the only benefit you're going to have wealth retention because you're too stupid to not lose your money in the market. Like that's it. Like for us, it's easy to say just put it all in S&P 500 and don't touch it. But poor people have poor people moments where it's like, fuck, your car broke down. Now I got to pull it out. And yeah, it sucks that I have a penalty, but I got to do it. And that's it. And, not being able to do it because it's a house kind of gives them a little bit of benefits that they won't otherwise have, I think.
Okay.
Anyways,
fantastic, Dan.
Yeah, upload this segment to anything else. This counts. This is this week's episode because Steve's not going to be here. Sorry.
Damn.
So
Dan literally thinks all of Manhattan is Lower Manhattan and East Midtown. LOL. I'm sorry. Are there parts of Manhattan that have a fuck ton of single-family homes that I've just never heard of?
No, I don't know where. I would fucking
dumbass.
I would look, but I can't. My keyboard's not working right now. I don't know how north you have to go in Manhattan before you see a single-family house.
Like I'm sure there are a few, but I seriously doubt there are that many. Or at least I've never been to a part of Manhattan that has a ton of.
I mean, I know there are single-family houses in Miami, or not in Miami, in Manhattan, but I think they're like national monument type things, like the fucking Getty lived here type of shit, and now it's like a library or some shit like that. So, yeah. All right, well, that's it. That's all that I have. Say hi. Hey.
Wait, was that your visitor cat, or is that a different? Or
yeah, this is a visitor cat. He just like comes in here.
Does he live with you now, or are you still? Is he in and out?
No, he comes and he goes. That's it.
Wow.
Hey. All right, never mind. All right, that's it. Have a good trip to wherever it is you're going.
Do see. Should be fun.
Yep, later.
Love you, bye.